So before we get into our first hip stretch here, we're gonna take you through some very basic capsule cars. You're just gonna get your hip moving through some rotation, but we're gonna teach you a little bit of a kind of tweak and trick that you can use to help to isolate things or to just give you a better sense of pelvis stability. So we're gonna go through hip capsule cars, which is just spinning your femur on your pelvis, but we do not want the pelvis to move. We want to at least limit it as much as we can. So normally with capsule cars, which we're gonna be doing in all fours, what I'd have you do is just go into this position here, straighten one leg out to get it out of the way because we're gonna be working the right leg. Set your hip up around 90 degrees of hip flexion. It does not have to be perfect. And then what we would normally do is we would take you through hip rotation, which would look like this. Now, because a lot of you, especially if you're doing this class series in Operation Human First that pertains to your pelvis, you may have problems stabilizing that pelvis. So we're gonna layer in some of the stuff from the other classes here. So what I'm gonna have you do when you do this is actually find a wall or an immovable object that you can set yourself up in front of so that you can take your opposite leg and press it into something. So I'm treating this object as if I'm trying to push it backwards and I'm driving my back foot into that object. That's gonna give me more of a sense of just general rigidity, but also as I do that, when I'm kind of trying to push my hip back into it, I'm gonna engage glutes, I'm gonna engage a lot of stuff that's gonna help to keep my pelvis still in space. You're also gonna layer in some of the other stuff that we learned in some of the other classes, which would be, it's assuming you're doing these classes in order, which I hope that you are. Once you get there and you get into this position, you wanna almost look like you're doing a plank. So you wanna think straight line between your left hip, shoulder, all the way down to your knee, which should be extended. But as you push into that, what is for me a squat rack, for you that object, piece of furniture, wall, whatever it is, I want you to give me a good exhale. And if you watch my shoulder blades here, I'm gonna exhale and press up to create space between my shoulder blades. The combination of the exhale, but also that reach is gonna engage a lot of abdominal stuff and midsection stuff that is, again, gonna help you keep that pelvis stable. So I want you to execute both of those things and then do your hip capsule cars so that when you do it, we don't see your pelvis going all over the place because that quickly makes a hip exercise turn into a low back exercise. And one of the reasons that you're doing this class series is to improve the health and function of your low back, of your pelvis, and of your hip. So we're gonna layer those two tweaks in there. Join me here kind of in this plank position. Find something you can press into with your left leg, and I really want you to push into it. You almost want to think like you're a sprinter trying to come out of blocks, so I want you to just drive back into that. You should feel your left hip, left glute engage. Then before we start our rotations on our right leg here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna exhale and press. Doesn't have to be aggressive or anything like that. You just want a full exhale. You want to create some space between your shoulder blades. You should feel your side abs kind of kick in for you when you do so. And then you're going to try and maintain that. You don't have to hold your breath. You can still breathe, but you're going to see if you can keep those abdominals engaged as you just rotate your hip back and forth. So you're going to internally rotate. This is the movement we're going to be focusing on today. So you're going to go as far as you can, and then you're going to come through, and you're going to go through external rotation. And you're just kind of tick-tocking your way back and forth here. Oh, my hip just cracked. You might have heard that on the microphone. And then we're going to take it back the other way. If at any point you're like, I feel like I've lost my abs, or I feel like my pelvis is moving, just do a quick pause, reset, exhale, create that space between your shoulder blades, push back into your object with your left foot, and then resume your motion here. You should actually feel like this is a full body exercise, because by pushing back into that block, you should have some force going through your hands all the way down into your foot, which, like I said, gives you a sense of, or an increased sense of stability and kind of rigidity through your body. And then as you maintain that press and exhale, you've got your abs and your shoulder kind of reaching muscles involved as well. So it's a bit of a full body experience.